1.4 million listed members. Every 28 days, on average, like 900,000 of those members have contributed in some way. The best post that we've had in the history of the entire community. She went to space. I got to meet Zuckerberg and Sandberg and the teams there. I was in so much debt that I went to my family and I was like, I don't know if I should do this.
What is up, everybody? We are so excited for today's episode because we have Haley Woods on, who is the founder of Girls Love Travel, which is a Facebook group that has over 1.3 million members on it, and their Instagram has over 160,000 followers. This is basically a community where women can go when they are wondering all of the details of how to solo travel or just travel and meet up with other women who are traveling solo as well. Super stoked to hear her story. She's traveled all over the world multiple times, and I know we're going to learn a lot of cool stuff from her today, so let's get into it. I would love for you to share kind of, if you want to intro yourself and just share what Girls Love Travel is to someone who's just never heard of it before.
So I'm Haley Woods. I'm the founder and CEO of Girls Love Travel. So Girls Love Travel has expanded now to over 1.4 million women all around the world, and those who identify as women, non-binary, and all of the spectrum that we can support to empower those to explore the world more fearlessly. I mean, that's our big goal and motivator, is to be there for each other. But this wasn't something that I intended. I started the community back at the end of 2015. And back then I was living nomadically and I was traveling for work, and I had been on the road since 2011. I actually still have not had a place of residence since 2011. So it's been a pretty wild decade for me. But I was noticing that as I was getting older, that I was getting lonely. I mean, I was traveling and I was going to all these amazing cities, but the work that I was doing was really having me go by myself to different destinations, stay in a hotel, go and work, go back to the hotel, and then go on to the next city. And sometimes I wouldn't even be in a city for more than a couple of days. And so I started using Facebook for what Facebook is really good for, which is connecting people. And I think it's still, to this day, is still the best at connecting people and being able to long form that and be able to talk to each other. And so along the way, I was using Facebook for scavenger hunting. Like, I would post on my wall saying, I'm going to be in St. Louis. I know nothing. Where should I eat? What should I do? And connecting with people that way. And then I started using Facebook groups and talking all about travel. And because I was living in hotels, I got all these points for staying in hotels. And when I was between contracts, I would use those points and live internationally in hotels. So I wasn't paying rent anywhere. And I was telling people about how I was doing that. And all these posts that I was doing in other groups were getting all these comments, but these groups were female focused communities that would talk also about living with their partner and, how they were handling their home and the Kardashians and all this other stuff that had nothing to do with travel. And so I reached out to an admin of those groups and I asked them, like, would you be interested in doing something travel focused? And it was really great. They were very forthright with me, just saying, we're really busy with what we're doing. But, if you want to go and do this, I've just got a couple tips for you that people think that it's a lot easier than it is. It takes a lot of time. So don't go into it unless you have the time to give to it. And I was like, noted. And I was getting ready to start a new job with Marvel Comics and like a big career change that I was doing. I had no time to spare. So it was like, that was in the back of my head. And when that contract ended with Marvel, I was back at it again thinking, oh my gosh, it's still not out there. And back then there was no travel communities just for women. It was communities for students or communities based on a travel agency or for retired travelers. And I just wanted like-mindedness to talk to. And that's what it is still today. So I think that's why there's such a beating heart and the heart travel of the whole pulse of everything, because of the fact that it's truly at the core my desire and the desire of others to connect with each other about this basic fundamental need that so many of us have around the world, which is to travel.
Right. That is so awesome.
Thanks.
Wow, so cool. And so though basically that other Facebook group encouraged you and was like, you should do
Yeah.
this, but you have to make sure you have enough time for it. And
Yeah,
so
and back then, I mean, this is end of 2015. Back then, there was only administrators and members. There was no moderators. There were not a lot of the tools that people have today. There wasn't, Instagram wasn't really anything at all then either.
yeah.
And so there wasn't any other socials to connect people besides Facebook, really. And it was really nice of them to have this discussion with me because they knew that we were lifting each other up. It wasn't a competitive space. Nowadays, I feel like there's so many people that are out there that are competing for this area, that are trying to come into the community that I've built and then go and make their own, which is great that they're making their own, but like doing it in a way that they're coming in just to kind of poach or to do it as a business.
Mm,
And I think that's
uh-huh.
the thing that's really been difficult at times for me, is that this is community first for me. It's not been business first. Many people along the way have kind of like tried to rattle my head about being like, why are you not like more business minded? And it's just so tough because I'm so focused on wanting to meet all the members and go and travel with them and explore the world with them. And, sometimes it becomes a little difficult whenever people are so focused on the business side of things.
Totally. It could take away from the community aspect that you're so passionate about.
Yeah.
So, okay, that is awesome to learn about. What I'm curious about is so you start this page, how does it go from 0 to 1.4 million members?
It's been a crazy ride. And for clarity, it's a group, because on Facebook, there are groups and pages.
Oh,
And
okay.
the big difference is that on groups, there are public and private groups. Ours is a private community. The reason why we did it as a private community is so that we could not be just open to the world. Whenever it's a public group or even a public page, then anybody scrolling by can see all the content that's been written and
Mm-hmm.
can share it onward. And you'll see that oftentimes, that like a post that you have no connection to is on your wall because it's from something public and it's been shared like thousands of times. And while
Mm-hmm.
it's nice that they're getting so much visual attention and support, it's also really nice for us to be on the other side of things and know that people can't share outwardly. And so it stays connected. The way that it expanded though and became a tipping point is simply by word of mouth. It's been a wild ride, but it's one of those things that when people started to join, then they liked talking about this and there wasn't anything else out there. And so they would add 20 of their friends, and those 20 people added 20 of their friends. And it truly became a tipping point of exponential growth. And as a result of the algorithm seeing the growth pattern, then Facebook took notice. We started at
Okay.
0 at the end of 2015. And by the beginning of 2017, we had over 200,000 members. And that's the first time that I went to Facebook headquarters, and I got to meet Zuckerberg and Sandberg and the teams there and get to really interact and talk about them. And I was invited to this event that I thought it was going to be all what they call power admins. And these are the most engaging admins on the platform. And I go there and there's like 8 other group founders, but none of them had groups more than about 50 or 60,000. And that's the first time that I really realized how exponential our growth had been, because I'd been so
Wow.
heads down in it that I
Mm-hmm.
knew that we were onto something, but I didn't know how big of a something that we were onto, because there's tons of groups on Facebook that, especially since COVID, there's tons of groups on Facebook that have themes, and especially the public ones or connections that maybe are grassroots, that somebody thought of something and had this exponential growth. But most of the ones that are over a few 100,000, or like us, over a million,
Yeah.
um, are very rarely grassroots, born from just an idea. Most of them are tethered to a brand or a political figure or a celebrity or something like that. So for us to have been something just talking about a topic, that's been a wild ride indeed.
So cool. It shows just like how much of a need it is as women who love travel.
Yeah.
I mean, we want that community aspect of being able to just reach out and have a shared experience, you know? So it's so cool that you met that need and so
Well,
many
and
women, you know,
yeah,
found
and
it.
it's great too because we have multi generations in the community. My mom is in the group. My cousins are in the group. You know, it's one of those things that Facebook found, like it says that the origination for a Facebook user without parental controls is 13. And so
Mhm.
we actually do have some preteens and like that are waiting in the wings, waiting to be GLTers.
Uh-huh.
But we've got some teenagers all the way up to our oldest member. At last notation, our oldest member was in her 90s.
Wow.
And she is a grandmother of one of our members. And they've been on trips together and posted and stuff. So it's nice to see. And sometimes like if a member is getting ready to go off to college or they're going on their first solo trip, they might invite their friend or family member that's also female to come into the community so that they can see that they're going to be okay, that they have a
Mhm.
connection around the world.
Yeah. That is awesome. Wow. I love it. I'm
Thanks.
curious kind of so obviously you created an entire group around travel.
Yep.
So where does travel kind of come into your story and where you just fell in love with it? Was it like all at once or was it like country by country or how'd it go down?
I mean, that's a great question. It's one of those things that as I've as I've gotten older, then I've reflected back, especially with how my path has taken me along this ride. And interestingly enough, I think that the first light bulb moment that I had that the world was possible happened when I was like 5. So it's pretty wild. I remember distinctly. I mean, there's moments in your life that, especially when you're young, that are so influential that you
Yeah.
don't realize until you're older that you can look back and you can be like, that was a moment.
Yep.
And for me, when I was 5 years old and I was in kindergarten, my grandmother, she came in for my show and tell, and she had just come back from doing a medical mission trip to, I think it was to Kenya for that one. And she came back with instruments and with pictures. I'm dating myself, but she had slides for those that are older that know what slides are. Um, but she had these instruments that and pictures of kids that were our age, 5, 10 years old, young kids that
Yeah.
were playing with these instruments. And now she brought the same ones for us to play. And it just, it registered. It just made, I mean, here's somebody that's in my life that, and I was born in 78. I'm 45 years old. So we're talking about the early 80s that this woman who is related to me is traveling all the way to the other side of the world
It's awesome.
and showing pictures of kids that are playing with something that now I'm playing with, and it just made it seem like the world was possible. And I didn't really understand or fathom all of that as a young kid, because you don't. But looking back, it's like, okay, as I grew up, and because I grew up in Upper East Tennessee, in Johnson City, Tennessee, great community, but generationally, it's an area that a lot of people stay. And
Mhm.
it's not a place that people explore outside of the US, let alone on the other side of the world. So for me
Mhm.
to have seen in my own family that family members have gone elsewhere, it just made it seem allowed.
Yeah. The
Yeah.
accessibility was there cuz you
Yeah.
and it's so cool that it was like your grandma. Like it was
Yeah.
another woman who was like I went and did this so you can too without saying those exact
I
words, you know.
know. It's really sad that she passed away when I was about 9, 9 or 10. And it just, I've thought about her a lot during this Girls Love Travel ride, because it would be really amazing to be able to hear the stories that she went through. It Just a little side note on her is that she actually was born in Uganda. Her parents were missionaries, and so her and her brother didn't come to the United States till she was 10 years old.
Hmm.
And so that's the reason why she went into mission work whenever she was older. I didn't grow up in a very religious family, but I do have that background. And to see that she did that, and she went to Kenya and Zimbabwe and Zambia and all these different places, to India, and have these pictures of her back from then. It's I really wish that I had more memories that I could share, and I could, like, be able to talk to her.
Yeah, that's so special.
Yeah.
That's cool that you have those photos.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Well, and I
So
think
cool.
that's the thing that's so great about social media these days, is that, you know, while there is an overabundance of sharing at times, and taking the pictures and taking the videos of everything, we will not have a lack of stories of the next generation.
Right.
We will not have a lack of the memories and the reminders of some of the things that we did. And so I think that that's extremely special for how social media as at large, and communities like GLT, can help empower people to remember to do that.
So cool. So, okay, that was you at 5. So when was the first time you left the country, and like where'd
Yeah.
you go?
So, I tried to get out of the United States when I was like 10, I think it was. My dance troupe was going to Russia, and my parents did not want me to do that one. But I convinced them. I don't know how I convinced them, but apparently at 12, I was able to go to Japan
Oh,
with my
nice.
dance group. And there was about 40 of us. My mom went. It was her first time outside of the country too.
So
So
cool.
Japan was my first international destination. I've since been back. I actually just got back from Japan just a couple weeks ago, with a Girls of Travel trip. So I had a real full circle moment while I was there, because while I was in Japan at 12 years old, and then now being back there at 45 years old, it's just amazing to see, like, that I never would have imagined, at such a young age. I had ambitions when I was younger to do acting and to be in the film industry. And I went to NYU for film and television and did all that path. I did marketing, all the stuff that led me to be a nomad was doing promotion, event marketing, and stuff at conventions and trade shows and things all around the country, and just talking to people. And I always loved to travel, but I thought that that was just a hobby. I thought that that was
Mhm.
something that wasn't a path that I could do as, like, a career. And it's really funny too, because my parents, I wanted to study abroad, and I wanted to go to semester at sea and do all this kind of stuff. But my parents, we don't like to admit it, but our parents do know you well. You don't like to
True.
say that, but you do. And my parents halted me from studying abroad, because they were concerned. They didn't graduate from college, and so they were concerned if I was to go abroad somewhere that I wouldn't want to come back.
Hmm.
And I was like, fine, fine, I'll stay in New York. I'll go to school. I'll do my work. And sure enough, right after I graduated from NYU, I graduated in 2000, and I had given myself a treat. And I'd gone in 1996. I'd gone to the Atlanta Olympics with my family, and I worked. It was right after I graduated high school. And I told myself, if you graduate in 2000, like you're supposed to, then go to Sydney to the Olympics.
Hmm.
And it was a back of the head kind of thing.
Yeah.
But as I was getting to my senior year, I was like, you know what? Screw it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to go. And sure enough, I graduated from NYU. I stayed in New York for just a little bit right after graduation. And then I went to Australia on what I thought was going to be a 3-month holiday visa, just going over there for the Olympics and to travel around and explore.
Yeah.
And while I was there, I dropped my return ticket, and I stayed for like almost a year. And,
Wow, that's cool.
and so I had that moment while I was there, and I was like, you might have been right, mom and dad. I probably wouldn't have come back. And so
Yep.
it was really, it's been a funny conversation along the years to have my parents be like, yeah, see,
We knew.
you found your way back to travel. Like, we couldn't hold you back from that. So,
Yep.
yeah,
So true. Yeah, it's like that desire to go see other places. You can't really get rid of it if you're 5 or 12 or 20. Like,
yeah,
if you want to go, you're going to go. So
yeah.
that's so cool. So fun. So you said that was in 2000 that you went to Sydney?
Sydney.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we're 15 years before Girls Love Travel gets created. That's so cool. So then from
Well,
there, I mean,
and just a quick thing about Sydney that's pretty wild is that in 2000, I went to Sydney and I went all over Australia, but in Sydney, I was at the Sydney Harbour Bridge. And those that know me well know that I love bridges and I love adventure. I'm not a foodie really at all. Like, I'll try the foods, fine, but I'm not one to go like out of my way to go to a Michelin star restaurant or spend my
mhm.
money on food. But I will spend my money on adventures. And I remember being there in 2000, and the bridge climb at the time was like $250, which now I think now it's like $350. So, but and I just remember I couldn't afford it. Like, I was budget. I was staying on couches when I could, and with the people that I met and all this kind of stuff. And I just remember how unbelievably beautiful that bridge was and how amazing it was that they had just started a couple years before allowing people to climb to the summit of it. And it really deeply saddened me that I financially wasn't able to do it. And it took me 15 and a half years later for me to finally get back there. And I got back there to Australia in 2016, and I climbed the damn bridge. And not
Let's
only did I
go.
do it, but I had an amazing time doing it.
So
Then
cool.
and then I got to take my mom to Australia in 2017, and I had her climb the bridge for her
Let's
70th
go.
birthday. And we sang happy birthday to her at the top. And I just got back from Sydney a couple of days ago, and I took my girlfriend and we climbed the damn bridge, and we were at
Literally
the top.
everyone.
And it's like, I just think it's like one of the best things. It's just phenomenal. So,
That
yeah.
is so
So
cool.
don't let finances hold you back. Don't get into debt on things, of course, but in yourself what you love.
Mhm.
You know what it is that's going to like just give you the tingles all over and be so excited. And that's that bridge for me, is like being able to have those moments. I've been so fortunate. Like, I was in New Zealand and I got to go on a helicopter ride to a glacier where I learned how to do ice climbing, and I went ice climbing on a
So
glacier.
cool.
I've been to all seven continents more than once, and being able to explore these different things. And I know how fortunate I am, but I also know that this is very important to me. I don't have a lot of name brand things. I don't drink coffee. I don't smoke cigarettes. I really rarely drink alcohol. The things that I spend my money on is putting the money aside, and it's really interesting and amazing when you start to look at where you're spending your money on and what you want to spend your money on and how you can make things happen.
Absolutely. We talk a lot about like the team at Gravel. We talk a lot about like designing your life for travel.
Love that.
Making it purposeful, because if you don't make it purposeful, you may never see the world. And you could have the same financial means as anybody else, whether it's low or high or whatever it is. But if you don't make the purpose for it, like it's not going to happen. Do you have any kind of like, I guess, advice on that front? You just shared kind of obviously saving and not spending it in other ways to use for travel. But if there's any like kind of key points you found?
Well, I think one of the biggest things that I want to advise is that people see my lifestyle and see that I've traveled around to all these different countries. I go back to different countries, and there's been many discussions over the years over, is it travel if you are going down the street? Is it travel if you are going to the city next door? And hell yeah, it is.
Right.
And it's like, you don't have to spend $10,000 on a trip. You don't have to spend anything. You can go camping and go, couch surfing, or go and stay with friends, or, do all those kind of things. Um, you know, Doing cultural immersions where a friend is going to Egypt, and she's always wanted to go Egypt, and she actually is able to go now because somebody she knows is getting married over there, and she's going to be going to a wedding. You know what I mean?
That's awesome.
Like there's so many different ways that you can travel. And I have a very big story in my past about finances. I was in a lot of debt, and I've come out of debt. And so I really am hyper focused on making sure to let people know that, I understand the debt to not debt ratio and how intense that can cause anxiety, and it can cause depression, and it can cause issues, and it can feel like a hole that you don't know if you're going to be able to get out of.
Right.
Financial situations are things that are so rarely talked about in the States, especially because it's brushed over like, oh yeah, everybody's in debt. Like, oh yeah, everybody has, money problems,
Mm-hmm.
but we don't talk about it. And there's a lot of times that people will, say, I want to go on the trip, but I can't because of finances. You need to look at the other things that are going on. It doesn't mean that you need to go on that trip.
Right.
Plan ahead, make that trip happen a few years from now. It doesn't have to go happen. I think we're so instant gratification. I'm really bad at it too. We're so instant gratification right now of like, if it doesn't happen now, it's not going to happen. That's not
Mm-hmm.
true.
Right.
But to ease yourself out, like, just to spread a little bit more information, I mean, at one point I was in close to $88,000 worth of debt,
Hmm.
and to get out of that and to live a debt-free life right now, um, it took me a few years to be able to get out of that. But while I was in that debt and I was going through it, there were moments that I still created rewards for myself. And for me, those rewards are some trips or some experiences or some excursions, or, go on Airbnb and, rent something that's down a couple of cities away, or go and see something on Viator and find an experience so that you're a fan in your own city. Those are the things that you can do to kind of reward yourself that might not cost you an arm and a leg, that you can do within your work confines of everything. And then know that later on, plan for it, and you can make other things happen too.
Absolutely. Yeah, keeping that for myself, that works really well too. Kind of that like tiny reward mentality of like, okay, getting out, if debt is the example, like getting out of debt is extremely difficult, but that doesn't mean you have to starve yourself from the things that bring you passion and joy and keep you working hard to get towards your goal, you know? So
Yeah.
that's awesome.
My dad, he unfortunately passed away a few years ago,
Mm,
but while I was in the thick of things, of really feeling the gravitas of the debt that was surrounding me, um, I was thinking about going on the first trip that I'd been on since 2011, or 2001. It was the first trip that I was looking at going on in 2011, and my passport had expired, and I hadn't, been out of the country in close to a decade. And I remember being invited to Hong Kong, Cambodia, and Thailand with a couple of girls that I knew in Los Angeles. And I was in so much debt that I went to my family and I was like, I don't know if I should do this. Like, I don't, I want to. Obviously, I want to. And I really feel like this would be good for me. But like, I have so much debt. I don't know what I should do. And my dad, he doesn't even remember saying it, but sometimes people say things and they mean the world to you. And
right.
he said, it's only money. You'll make more, and it's like, whoosh, like it released all the stress that I had on me. And it gave me that ability to be like, you know what, you're right. Like, I deserve this. I'm like putting myself in my own self-imposed enclosure that I need to break free from. And I
Hmm.
think that's one of the problems that so many people dealt with during COVID times, is that travel has been that release, that endorphin of love and exploration, and that amazing way to get away from the confines that are going on in everyday life. That during COVID, we saw that return in so many ways. And that was a big thing for the Girls of Travel community, was to figure out how to be there for people talking about travel when the world was not traveling.
Right. Yeah, definitely. I'm curious, like, kind of, I mean, there's so many ways we could go with this. It's so fun. And I just love chatting about travel and just, yeah,
Thanks.
it's the
I
best.
appreciate it.
I'm curious kind of, what are the conversations that someone who joins Girls Love Travel can expect to find in the group? Or what kind of like, is there, like a limit to the questions, or what kind of
Oh my gosh.
conversations are happening in there.
It is wild. I mean, it's one of those things that daily we have 1.4 million listed members. On average, I think Facebook gives us analytics for every 28 days, and every 28 days on average like 900,000 of those members have contributed in some way,
Wow.
whether it be a reaction, a comment, or a post themselves. And just scrolling through, I mean, daily there's nearly a half a million daily, like in the
Insane.
group. So it's just it's crazy. So recently, one of the posts that I would say is the best post that we've had in the history of the entire community was posted. It's fucking epic. It's this a girl also named Haley was selected to be on the very first all how do you say it, was uh she went to space. She was the first one that is like got to go into space for a
Wow.
little bit of time, and it was the first one into orbit that was like commercial, that wasn't NASA kind of thing.
Wow. Uh-huh.
Yeah, and so
Casual.
yeah, no big deal. Like she has an entire Netflix documentary about her, about going into space. She's written a couple of books, like, and here she is in the group saying that she's been in GLT since before she went into space,
Oh,
and
wow.
she was just sharing some pictures of her with Earth behind her. Like,
No way.
I know. And then like we've had members that live on the continent of Antarctica and report back to the community as to what it's like living and working on the continent during the winter season
Wow.
and stuff there. We have had, and then we have just random stuff. We'll have people that will share pictures of like the pictures that they took of their partner versus the pictures their partner took of them. And it'll be like, not
Uh-huh.
good at
Not
all.
good. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. No, my husband fails me every day with photos. I'm like, how come the photos I take of you while we're traveling are so much
Yeah,
better?
I know. I know. It's like a training session sometimes to
Yeah.
be able to have that. So it's a full spectrum. I mean, it's everything from being there for somebody that wants to meet up and being able to connect. And we actually have 10 subgroups now as
Oh,
well.
wow.
And we have a lot of location based like meetups and things that happen. I just met up in Portland where I'm at right now. I met up with about 10 girls last night at a little meetup at a
So
bar
cool.
restaurant, and see people in person. So it's been crazy. I mean, it's amazing, and just the full spectrum of everything that people talk about. One of the subgroups that we just started has been phenomenal. That has about 15 or 16,000 members at this point, and we started it about two months ago. And this is a group about points and miles, and so it's talking about, it's very US centric because it's talking about mostly the credit card game that people get into here in the United States. But once you get into it, like how to make sure that you're doing it, respectfully and not going into
Mm-hmm.
debt with it, and how to use your points and miles to get your best benefit. Is my flight, whenever I went from Honolulu to Sydney, was able to do business class on points, and I didn't have to pay more than, I think I paid 65,000 points and $11 for me to go
Uh-huh.
business class, lay flat all the way to Australia. And so getting people to learn how to be able to do that has been really fun too.
Yeah. And there's that cuz so my partner and I we lived in Abu Dhabi for a little bit and so we'd fly from LAX to Abu Dhabi or to Dubai quite often and they always a lot of airlines they'll send you at the last minute like the business class upgrades and
Yep.
they're for like an unbelievable portion of the original cost. And so we did that one time and it was life-changing. I mean, once you experience that, you're like,
I know.
"Oh no.
It's kind of,
Traveling won't be the same."
it's a little devilish because once you do it, then you have that on your shoulder of like, I want to do it again. Yeah.
Yep, exactly. Oh man,
I
so
also
much.
enjoy being able to do what I call first class economy, which is being on a flight that has, one or two seats open next to you and you're like lounging out back there, but you've paid
Yes.
like stupid low price for it. that feels like a real win for me too.
Absolutely. Are you just buying the one seat and then getting lucky, or you're buying okay, the what? Yeah. Yeah. The that is the best because
Yeah,
you're
that's the one
paying the
whenever
least.
the second that the doors are, you know that the doors are about to close and you
Yep.
don't breathe until like you know that everybody has gotten on the plane and then you can like be like, yes,
You can
don't
sneak
come near
over
me.
there.
Yeah.
Yep. That is the best. Yeah, oh, that's happened a few times. It's amazing. Okay, so we actually have a portion of the show where we do trivia and we
Mm.
ask 5 really quick,
Uh-oh.
fun travel questions, and
Okay.
then you'll find out the answers at the end.
Okay, what do we got?
Okay, Machu Picchu is located in which country?
Peru.
Obviously. The
I went there in
biggest.
2018. And one of my favorite things about it is being able to, everybody takes pictures of Machu Picchu. I took pictures of Machu Picchu. Fine. But also take pictures of the people taking the pictures of Machu Picchu because that's really fun. Like seeing like
Absolutely.
the craziness is pretty wild. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't even imagine. That crowd must be pretty large.
Yeah. Well, this is very uplifting. I've got 1 for 1 so far.
1 for 1. You're crushing it. I'm looking at these questions and I'm like, these are all pretty easy, I think.
We'll see.
Number 2 is.
Now you've inflated me. I don't know. Let's see.
Number 2 is the biggest city in China is.
Gosh. You know, China is one that I actually haven't been to other than a stopover. Would
You
it be
can just-
Shanghai?
Maybe. We'll check back at the end
Okay.
on if you got it.
Okay.
Okay, number 3 is Easter Island is known for its 1,000 what? Or I guess another way to say it is, what do they have 1,000 of?
Well, I mean, I know Easter Island for the statues, and this is also a place I haven't been. You're finding me wow. Let me see, because I know that. No. Okay. Is that okay?
Maybe. I can't say yet, but
No, I'm good.
I
Okay.
mean-
No. It's one of those things where I need Alyssa. I need like so. I need to phone a friend. I've got people that have been to all this.
You can phone a friend.
Okay. No, Easter Island is one that I want to go to. I mean, the only thing I know about Easter Island really are the statues, so I'm going to say that.
Okay. Number 4. Which city has more canals, Venice or Amsterdam?
Oh gosh, Amsterdam.
All right. And then number 5. What is Scotland's?
Nobody thinks that because Venice is all connected, so it's not canals.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So what is it then? It's basically just like open water, or do they not call it canal?
I think some of them are. I don't know. You're finding places that I haven't been. I haven't been to Venice. That's
Lance,
what my girlfriend and I are trying to go to. Yeah.
oh, that's so fun. Lance put these questions together, so I'll have to tell him he got all the good
I'm
ones.
gonna be really frustrated if I get some of these wrong. Let me see. I'm gonna wait. Hold on. I want to look this one up. Venice or Amsterdam? Which one has it? You're killing me.
You'll find out at the end.
Okay.
Okay, the final one. What is Scotland's national animal?
Scotland with the Loch Ness Monster. Isn't that the unicorn? That one.
You're gonna find out at the end, but I gotta say, I am impressed.
Yeah.
Guess is unicorn.
Isn't it?
I mean, you'll find out at the end, but like, I'm impressed. I'll say that.
Yeah.
It's so
Oh, I
good.
did. I got it.
Yeah, you did. You looked it up. I love it.
Yeah,
You killed it.
Yeah, because I mean, I know Scotland's that one is because it's unique. Like
It's
that
so
one
unique.
is the most unique.
Yeah, it's so fun that is
I
it.
feel like I got 5 for 5, but I don't know. We'll see.
We're gonna find out at the end.
Yeah.
Okay, so fun. You crushed
That was
those.
good. That was good. It was so funny because people ask me a lot because I run Girls of Travel. They figure that I've been everywhere, and they're astounded whenever they've been to a place that I haven't been. And it's like, guys, I mean, yeah, I love to travel, but I love to go back to places too.
Yeah.
I've gone back to Japan this last time. I think it was my 4th or 5th time going back to Australia. I lived there for a while, and then I've been back there probably again like 4 or 5 times as well. So it I'm a country counter, yeah, because I've been to over 70, I think,
Wow.
countries, but I'm not one to not go back to places.
Right.
There's some people that are so diligent about country counting that they just want to go to the next
Keep
place.
adding.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Wow, 70. Right now, you've definitely got the most country count of all of our guests so far, which adds up,
Hey,
which makes sense. Yeah. Yeah.
oh my
Very
God, that's
cool.
pretty cool. I mean, I hang around with a lot of people that have been everywhere.
Yeah.
So it's nice. It's humbling whenever I'm around them to be able to talk to them about places that I've not been. I was just in Japan with this guy that has been to every country in the world, and he's just finished doing Everest and stuff too. And so
Wow.
his name's Johnny Ward. He has a blog, One Step Forward, and
Cool.
it's fun whenever I talk to him about things because I'll say something and he can rally right back and like volley the conversation about a different area.
That's really cool.
Yeah,
That's when you found your people. That's when you're like, we can vibe because we can talk. I mean, obviously, not saying that's the only people, but
right.
it's like travelers, where you feel that connection. So
Well, and I
cool.
gotta say that that's one of the things that has been so fantastic about the Girls of Travel community. And we do trips, we do the Girls of Travel trips, and it just cuts away some of the initial BS of meeting somebody that's new because you know that you have a connection already. And so time and time again, when I go on these trips with different Girls of Travel groups, then it's like they already know that even an introvert that doesn't really want to talk to anybody and is like really shy can at least say, "So where else have you traveled?" And it'll open up a line of conversation
Right.
so that they're not feeling uncomfortable in a setting.
So cool. Tell me about the Girls Love Travel trips. Like, what is that and how can people get involved?
Love that.
You know?
So we have a website, girlsoftravel.com, and we list our stuff there. We primarily launch our trips through our newsletters so that people kind of have first dibs and everything that have been on trips before. We have successfully sent over 150 Girls of Travel members to Antarctica.
Wow.
We have 3 trips simultaneously coming up the first weekend in September where we've got people going to Mexico City, going to Guatemala, going to Greece. A couple weeks later, we have people going to Egypt. So just places all over. And we have bucket list destinations, and then we have some bucket list adventures. We have a great trip coming up for Day of the Dead that we have some spaces left for that I went on it last year, and it was really phenomenal because especially this Day of the Dead trip because like for that one um I don't think that Americans that we celebrate those that have passed very well. I don't think that we talk about death and dying and we don't honor those people as much. And it's one that when I was there in Oaxaca, Mexico, I got to learn about the culture there and how they do these celebrations. And we made sure that we were an outside observer without interference, making sure that we were respectful in culture and making sure that we were learning, but not taking away from what everybody else was doing.
Mm-hmm.
And it was so impactful. We got to make our own altar and bring some pictures of those that have passed and honor them, and some of the women that were on this trip last year ended up buying some items from there to make their own experience and their own altar going forward in their own homes.
That's
So
awesome.
yeah, and it's great too because these trips, like, we had about 20 that went to Cuba over New Year's, and we have these WhatsApp chats, and everybody stays connected on them after, especially whenever people have gotten really close. And so you'll see people saying happy birthday to everybody and going and doing other trips and stuff together. Some of the girls on that Cuba trip are I'm going to be meeting up with in about a week in Greece, and so seeing people on other experiences has been really lovely.
That's so cool.
Yep.
Ah, that's the best. There's that community aspect is just so there's nothing like it. It's so cool. So fun. Okay, so we have some like kind of like more pointed questions about travel and just some like simple tips. We asked our Instagram if they had any questions for you, and so we
Sure.
got a few.
Oh, I'd love to hear
So
what they asked. That's cool.
yeah, it's a mix. Some of them are like, the first one is best tips for packing. I always
Oh my
overpack,
gosh.
and I'm trying to be better at it.
I
So
suck. I suck at packing. Like, I'm just gonna be honest. Like, I am a self-certified, bona fide procrastinator. I, procrastinate and pack at the very last minute. I like can't sleep before a trip because I need to clean up the space that's around me and look through my luggage like one last time and probably add too many things instead of taking away things. I am not the person that is like packing 3 weeks before a trip. I'm packing like 3 hours before a trip. So I'm not exactly the best one on that. However, I am good on how to make it work. Those things that I use are things like the vacuum compression bags. They have a lot of the ones that are compression bags uh, that are like carry-on friendly, that sizing, so the
mhm.
small size, that you don't even have to have an instrument to assist you in taking the air out. You can just roll it and the air will come out and
Oh,
then
that's cool.
keep it
Yeah.
compressed. And then I also use packing cubes, love those, to be able to compartmentalize what I have in my suitcase so that it's not all willy nilly everywhere. I have like a little hard shell case that's about this big that I put earrings and stuff in so that they're not getting broken because I've broken way too many things along the way. And then I think one of the best things too for packing that people always talk about, like clothes, but for me, clothes don't take up that much space, to be honest. I'll have some fun things like some crazy outfits and stuff that definitely will take up a lot of room. But the main thing that takes up room for me are all the additional miscellaneous things. So I bought a container about this big that, maybe two handful size, that is for all my cords and cables and miscellaneous electronic items.
Yep.
So that when I need it, then I know, okay, I'm going to find it here. And to be honest, I mean, I know I travel a lot and I'm always living out of a suitcase, but even when I'm not and I'm more in one place for a while, I still keep that stuff in there so that I know that I can find it.
Yeah, that's
And then
awesome.
and then one of the things that I really like that Gravel that you guys do is being able to have things like for being able to have your soap and your shampoo and conditioner and stuff and putting it all in those compartments and
Yeah.
being able to carry those with you. There's so many hotels now that you stay at that have shampoo and conditioner in large bottles for you to be able to use. So having one of those amenities like Gravel produces and being able to replenish even at the hotel is a great way to save money and to be able to not pack a ton of stuff whenever you're going away.
Yep. And whenever you're traveling, if you end up having to like refuel, if you're purchasing the whole bottle, a lot of it just ends up getting wasted because you can't travel with it. So that's such a good idea for the hotel stays.
Well, and I like
Super
too
smart.
that you guys came out with that new laptop workspace carry bag that you've
Uh-huh.
got, that
Yeah.
being able to have like your laptop in one and then you've got your cords and stuff in another.
Yep.
I mean, it's so great because I think so many people are so focused on, okay, I need to pack for what I'm going to wear, but you don't think about what are you doing whenever you're going someplace. And a lot of
Right.
people I talk to still need to do some work, especially in this post-pandemic time period, especially Americans where it's hard to take time off of work, that you might be able to work remotely for like a day or two. So you're having to
Right.
take some of these electronics with you. Maybe it's just an iPad, but maybe it's, more. And you're forgetting on how to carry things with you. Like I often will carry with me a cinch bag that I can throw my stuff in. And especially like going on a plane, I'll grab that cinch bag and I'll put all of the little knickknack things that I need for the long haul so that it's in that. And I'm not having to have my entire bag. The rest of it can go up in the overhead compartment. What I need is down by me. That gives me more space to be comfortable.
Yep.
And just remembering when you're packing, you're not just packing the clothes, but you're packing for comfort overall.
Right. Yeah, and like lifestyle. That's so smart. That's one of my favorite products too of Gravel is the laptop bag because I found every time I was traveling, I carry a lot of camera equipment with me at all times. So when I'd go to a coffee shop, I'd have this huge backpack and I'm like, I don't want to be that person
No.
walking into the cafe. I just want to have this
And that
little
can be
bag. So
dangerous. Well, that can be
it's true.
dangerous with all of the stuff because that's
Yep.
expensive equipment. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so true. Yeah. Okay, next question
Sure.
is a little bit more like women solo traveling focused.
Okay.
So, what are like some tips and logistics? They could be safety focused, they could be just like overall, that you would give to a woman who's going on her first solo travel trip. And one of the questions was, how do you even do it? Like the simplicity, which we know it's like, well, you book the ticket, you get on the plane, and you go. But kind of like probably
It's
the mindset, you know?
Yeah, no, I literally just heard from one of my girlfriends last night that has not gone out of the country since she's never gone out of the country. She's had her passport for years and she's finally booking her first international destination. And she was sending me like overwhelming joy that she's finally doing it. And I've known her for 10 years and she's not been able to successfully just get out and go. And work holds people back. A lot of life holds people back, especially for going and doing something. I think that if you have any anxiety or concern or just feeling the tension of doing that first solo trip, I think you need to take a step back and remember, like we were talking about before, that your travel doesn't mean that it has to be to the other side of the world. So take that first trip as a solo traveler that's within a destination that's driving distance. Go somewhere that's a couple of towns over and test the waters, see what feels good for you. So you know if you're not the kind of person that enjoys or thinks that you're going to be okay, and comfortable going out to dinner by yourself in a community that's just a couple towns away, you're not going to feel comfortable doing that in a country that you are going and visiting, and
Yep.
know that about yourself. And that's okay. Just because you're traveling solo doesn't mean you have to travel alone. That's a
Right.
big thing. And we get that a lot with our Girls of Travel trips, that just because you're traveling solo doesn't mean you have to travel alone. You can travel solo and meet up with a group. A
Right.
lot of our trip attendees, what they'll do is they'll go on a trip and they'll plan maybe a day or two before or a day or two after, so that they're going into the waters of exploration of travel and they're testing out what they like to do as a solo traveler and maybe having that little bit of extra wiggle room to explore an area. But then they know that they have the comfort of somebody else planning everything, somebody else handling everything, and getting to know other like-minded people that, whether it's a group with Girls of Travel that's female focused or co-ed, or if it's another brand or another company that's doing trips, that can be a really great stepping stone into doing that kind of sort of thing.
That is brilliant. I love that. Like that first day and last day, you could be
Yeah.
solo, but it's like if you have a panic attack or you get anxiety, whatever can happen, at least it's not going to be a long-term thing. It's
Yeah.
like it's okay. You just got to get through this for a day and then you've got people joining. That's
Yeah,
so
and you've
smart.
got a lot of people on these trips that like they haven't planned something, and so they might have extended their trip. They didn't have anything planned, so you might make a friend and have them still join. And that's
Right.
all good. I think that there's a lot of negativity so that's in our own heads, but society puts it on about women, especially traveling by themselves, and like it's not done or it's not supposed to be done or things like that, and that's bogus. Like but at the same token, if that's not your jam, that's totally fine.
Right.
We get a lot of people on our trips that it's really nice because they're in a relationship, but their partner doesn't like to travel as much, or their partner is working all the time and they don't want to be held back. And it's really lovely to see them being able to have these experiences and then go back, and so that's
Yeah.
that's another thing too, that you might be in a relationship but still want to go off and explore another part of the world, and you should be able to do that.
Yep. So true. I love that. What is your favorite country that you've ever been to out of the 70?
Oh God. I have experiences that I love. Some of the ones that I've mentioned before are like going like the South Island of New Zealand and going on that glacier. I'll never forget it. Going to Antarctica for the first time. I got to go for the second time as well. And each time it's just been like, it's pulling me back. I can't wait to go back to Antarctica. So that's definitely one. But I think that for me, it's also the thrill of what's next, of seeing like where I'm going to travel and venture to next. I've been talking to some Girls of Travel members who live in Yemen about potentially going and exploring there.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
and then I also really like the fact that my unfortunately, because my dad did pass away a few years ago and I didn't get to travel that much with him, that I've
Mm,
really tried to find ways to travel with my mom and travel with people that I love, and maybe going back to some places that I know I can provide comfort for them to explore
mm-hmm.
and see the place through their eyes, and then it becomes a completely different trip for me, you know.
So
So
cool.
that's been really lovely to be able to have those moments.
That is so true. My When I lived in Abu Dhabi, my parents came out the 2 weeks before I moved back, and I know for a fact they would have never gone there if I wasn't living there, you know? And it's so cool because whatever fears they had, you know, if they were to just go there as tourists, now it's like, "Oh no, Caitlin lives there, so she's going to show us around. She's going to help, you know." And like that simple thought is what made them book the ticket and go. And that's just so cool. Like getting people out of their comfort zones but back into one, I guess.
Yeah. And to be able to have those memories, like those are truly core activated memories that you'll be able to cherish forever. I was fortunate to be able to have my dad and my mom and I go up to Niagara Falls, go to the
Very cool.
Canadian side in 2016, and he passed in 2017. And
Mm,
I forever will cherish that, being able to have something like that. And granted, I also cherish all the different memories that I have of, like I've said before, of, you know, going just to a different state or going to a different place. But being able to really go on some of these breakaway experiences is like, I got to take my mom to Egypt and see her in front of the pyramids, and I got to take her to Paris and go up to the Eiffel Tower with her. And
so cool.
like it's, you know, and like, you know, going to Australia and climb the Sydney Harbor Bridge with her and sing happy birthday for her 70th birthday, like I'll never forget that.
So cool. I
So
love it. I guess that kind of leads us into the question of what fulfills you the most about travel. Like, you know, is it the memories? Is it the community? Maybe a mix of all.
yeah, I think it's a mix. I mean, it's one of those things that I never never thought that this would happen with Girls of Travel. I'm very fortunate. I try and, you know, remind myself all the time at how much this is really about the community. And I mean, it's not about me. I just happened to be the fortunate one that started it and had the idea to start it. And I am beyond just astounded whenever I meet up with members around the world. And so the travel for me right now has been the connectivity, and really seeing that the world is so big, but yet it's also really, really small. I was just in Australia and I was there for the FIFA Women's World Cup,
Oh,
and
nice.
I was in Sydney and I was watching a game. I was up in like the 300s, right? And I'm sitting there, and it's like me, and it's halftime, and I'm like on my phone as I always am, doing something for GLT, and I'm posting in the community about Sydney and seeing if there's some members that might want to meet up, and some people are starting to comment, and this girl two seats down from me, because my girlfriend had just gone to the concession stand, so her seat was empty, so literally the seat next to my girlfriend, she's looking at me and looking, she like looked at me, she had just finished typing on her phone, looked at me, and she saw my lanyard that says Girls Love Travel, and she looked up at me and she says, I think I just commented on your post. And it turns out that she was a GLTer and she was there with her wife, and she was sitting two seats down from me.
Wow.
And here we are at the Women's World Cup in Australia, and they're, you know, Americans as well. You know, it's just,
Crazy.
yeah.
That
We're,
is wild.
I mean, it's like I just never know when I'm going to run into somebody that is a GLTer. And so I think travel has changed in some ways for me, because I'm never knowing when I'm going to run into somebody that is going to be a connection and stuff too. And oftentimes I'm looking a lot more at the people, I think now, which is lovely, instead of looking at the destination. Um,
Mhm.
and going to meet up with people and meet up with members that I've known for a while, but I've never met in person, instead of really going to their, and I want them to show me their area, their
Yep.
local vibe, instead of just going to a place because it's on a bucket list.
Right. Oh, that's so cool. I love it. Okay, are
Right.
you ready to find out your if you got
Did
5 for
I get all
5?
did I get all five?
Okay, first one, Peru, which we both obviously
Yeah.
said.
Yeah.
Number 2, Shanghai.
Yay! Okay.
Yeah.
I was a little nervous about that one because I haven't been, and China is not in my wheelhouse. Okay.
And Easter Island is known for its 1,000 statues.
Oh, good. Okay.
So
I didn't
you're
realize there
3
was
for
1,000.
3.
I didn't know there was 1,000. I mean, that's all I really know about Easter Island.
Yeah.
I need to go, and I'm going to probably Wikipedia Easter Island after this.
Okay, number 4, you said which city has more canals, Venice or Amsterdam? And it's Amsterdam.
Okay.
So you got it. And
It's beautiful. It's so lovely. Yeah.
oh, it's amazing. What is Scotland's national animal? Unicorn. So you're 5 for 5.
Trying to get me on that one. That one I love that one was thrown in there. That's good.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a really good one. That's so fun. Okay, before we wrap up,
Yep.
do you have any like top quick travel tips? Maybe it's mindset, maybe it's like pack light, whatever. It could be like, something like that you would give to someone who they're headed out on a trip. Maybe it's their first one.
I think that learn from each experience that you do and grow from that. There are things that I take with me now that I didn't take with me whenever I first started. There's stuff like I actually have a little bag of things that I like on a plane that keeps me happy. In that, I'll make sure that I have like a pair of socks to keep my feet warm. I usually keep a beanie just in case, because it might get cold. I love eye masks to go to sleep, and so I have one of those in there too. Um, don't forget your battery chargers. We are in a social media world, and when you leave the home, you never know how long you're going to be gone. So whenever you're out on an excursion or you're going on a trip, getting the power chargers, the battery adapters and stuff for your phone is just like one of the best things that you can get for yourself. And then do your research. I mean, go into communities like Girls of Travel, but also go on Instagram, go and just search and see where you're going and kind of learn from that. I made the stupid mistake whenever 20 years ago when I was going to Australia for the first time, and I was going, I think it was like end of June or beginning of July, which is their winter.
Yeah.
And I went there thinking that it was going to be like stepping into Baywatch Beach, and I just was so stupid about that. I mean, excuse me, I wasn't stupid. I was just naive.
Yeah,
And
you just didn't know.
I just didn't know because I didn't do any research. I wasn't prepared at all. But also know that it's okay if you make a mistake. I make mistakes all the time, and I've been traveling for a long time. And don't be hard on yourself. Just learn from it. Things might get stolen. Things might get lost. My passport's been stolen before. Things have been taken from rooms before. That don't let the nervousness of this deter you. But don't forget that your gut is your best instinct. And so being able to really rely on that and just lead with it, and whenever you have an issue, take a moment, take a breath, and know that 99% of the time you're going to be okay. So it's one of those things that always have somebody that you can contact. It's really good to make sure that with your phone, if you don't have an international phone plan, find a way to either get a SIM card or have Wi-Fi so that you can have WhatsApp and connect with people. And then those are the times that you're going to feel that extra bit of assurance. But at the end of the day, just trust yourself and go and do it. You're the one that's holding yourself back. Other people are not. I remember one more thing is that, back ages ago when I went to Australia, I thought I was going to go for 3 months. Like I said before, I dropped my return ticket, stayed for like a year. But when I decided I was going to go for 3 months, there were so many naysayers that were like, oh my gosh, you're going for 3 months? That's forever. But that's like an American mentality, and people around the world are going for a year, traveling and doing all this kind of stuff. And now, granted, you don't have to travel 3 months. You don't even have to travel for 3 days, but if you can just go and give yourself the opportunity to explore a new area, explore a new destination, maybe take a friend along, take a partner along, but do what works for you. And then at
Yep.
the end, come back and tell us all about it on Girls of Travel.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Any of our women listeners, you gotta join in. I just joined yesterday, so I'm new, but I'm already excited. I read through some posts and I was like, I love how all of these posts are like checking so many different kind of boxes. It's like, will this luggage fit on this airline? And then the next one's like, what should I do in Paris for 3 hours? I
Yeah.
love that. Like that's my kind of travel. So there's something
It's
on
a
there
good
for everyone.
scrolling thing, and it's really nice whenever you're at work and you are not traveling to kind of travel through the words of others as well. We see a lot of surge during the 9 to 5 business hours in the
Yep.
United States. It's like people are online during work and being like, I wish I was in, the Maldives, and here's like I'm looking at those posts. So,
Yep. And
but
someone's
just
there.
welcome to the Girls of Travel community, and thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you so much. Is there anywhere that we can like, for the viewers to follow along for you other than Girls Love Travel, or is that the best spot?
I mean, you can find me particularly just all the time on the feed.
Okay, cool. All right.
So you can find me through the Instagram account on Girls of Travel, and then through our website, girlsoftravel.com. I personally have an Instagram account, but I don't use it that much. It's Haley underscore loves underscore travel. Yeah.
Amazing.
But yeah, just come into the community, tag me, and then I'll come and say hi.
Yeah, cool. That sounds great. Amazing. Thank you, Haley.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for having me.